if Russ is willing and able to buy in, could be interesting.
That was just such you would know because obviously you dialed into it a lot deeper than me and Max. It just seemed like that the way they parted just didn't. It's not fixable, so to speak. I'm trying to find the words without stepping in it. It just didn't feel right. You know, you can have disagreements with ex-teammates, and in the end, you be like, oh, okay, cool. But it don't seem like an okay, cool.
Yeah, the fit potentially could work, but the one thing that you would have to get from Russ here, and the biggest thing around Russ is him buying in on the defensive end. Like, he did a better job of doing that this year, right? But I don't know about that one. That one's iffy to me.
OKC didn't stand for okay, cool. Yep.
And even see, another reason, like y'all was talking about him buying in and him accepting he's a different player than some other players in the NBA. If he was to go with KD, it feels like Russ be like, man, I'm colder than him still. Like he was still, you know what I'm saying, Jay?
But that's
like
one of the problems with
No, but I'm talking about
specifically.
I'm specifically talking about with Durant because it was his ex-teammate at OKC. He might still feel like you ain't never done what I did with the triple-double. You know what I'm saying?
But
it's just bringing back to that space.
Because as I'm sitting here thinking about it, Key, there is a part of me that really wants Russ and KD to reunite, to bring back what that OKC moment was. And then I'm thinking about, man, now you're talking about Russ not only gets a chip, but then CP3 would get a chip. And then, by the way, Phoenix has never won a chip. And then Kevin Durant would be one of the main reasons they do so.
It's a huge
which might
redemption
change
story,
your perspective of KD overall, considering what happened with Golden
But how
State.
would
redemption
I
story
wonder
for everybody
what,
involved, yeah.
But I wonder what, and I don't know this, but I wonder what CP3's relationship is with Westbrook. Because now you got two alpha. You know what I'm saying?
That's
two guys.
How you get in, how you fit in is everything, you know? Get in where you fit in.
Art in Durham. You're on with Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
North Carolina. What's up, Durham?
Helicopter.
What's up, Art?
Hey, good morning, fellas.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
We got you, brother.
All right, cool. So I would love to see Brody go to Phoenix. I think somebody just said that. But another team that could be a possible good veteran fit for him could be Memphis and help Ja off the bench.
Okay, I see that. I can see that in Memphis a little bit. I mean, I still think they need a veteran. Like, I still think they need a vet as a wing, but okay. I'm okay with that.
I like
I'm
them to
okay
have
with that.
I want them to have a championship vet though. If they was because they need that championship kind of leadership mentality because they already a young, hungry team.
Yeah, he has not won a championship, obviously. He's gotten to Game 7 against that same 73-win team that LeBron got past, but it was his most amazing accomplishment. He and KD took them down to the wire. I was there, Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. It's not a championship, but it's pretty good. Chris in Atlanta. Go, Chris.
Yeah, I'm just saying Westbrook, like Max just said, his best chance back with OKC. He ain't going to change. He comes down, he shoots the ball. He's never hot, straight off the bench. You've seen him play. He plays 100%, but it's about him. He can't change in the middle of the season and just change the way he plays, change the way he thinks. If you're on a championship team, you're willing to give up everything for that chip. And if LeBron can't teach you that, nobody can teach you that. And that's my take.
That's interesting. I think that's interesting, the LeBron point, guys.
One of the heaviest things I feel every time I discuss Russell Westbrook is I'm waiting, like as a player, I'm going to be so real with everybody. Obviously going through my injury, right? And Russ has never had something that's had to force him to slow down. But when you go through something that forces you to slow down, you have to think the game. You're forced to think the game differently because you have to move differently. And Russ has never had an injury like that, Key, where it slowed him down to refine the other skill sets of his game, but more importantly, for him to think the game through. I really wish Russ would think the game through. I'm talking about CP3, like think the game through possession by possession. Okay, this guy's backing off me. Great. Let me absorb that room, but let me absorb the kick to get this guy a shot. Or let me just not force a shot up at the rim. Let me pull back out and get my team into a set. His lack of willingness to over assert himself, thinking the game is what hinders me from saying, yeah, I want to run, I want Russ on my team.
But is it really his lack of willingness to do it, or is it just something he can't do? Because this has been him for 30 years of playing basketball
That's
since he was a kid.
lack of willingness, Key. You can't tell me that players can't adjust their game. Your game adjusted from the time you were a rookie in the league to the time you were a vet. You had to learn how to do things differently.
And this dude just made an interesting point, which is he played with LeBron and didn't do it.
But see, that's not true,
well,
because he did go to the bench. He did go to the bench in change as far as that goes.
Yeah, but he didn't have to change his style of play because he was off the bench.
He's not in L.A. because he can't play, Max. He's in L.A. because they need to get better. They could not afford to just have him doing that. They need more bodies. They need
But Key, I'm not arguing he didn't accept a different role, but the role allowed him to continue to play the same way. And what Jay is saying is not simply, hey, where your minutes are going to come. It's the style of
But if
play.
you don't have different tools in the box, you can't go to your other tools. Right. He's never had different tools in the box. You alluded to me, Jay. I always had a different tool set. I always could do this, do that, do this, because that's how I was raised when starting from high school. With that picture, with the hairline, it was one of them situations where I played inside, outside. I was taught to block. I was taught to go deep. I was taught those things. So if anything else went south, I could always go to something else. That was never the case with him.
The Raptors didn't trade away any of their core players. Is that hot news or not news, Jay?
That's scorching hot news. Look, they had all the pieces that could add to other NBA championship teams. You talk about what is Memphis going to do? Oh, could they have gotten a guy like OG Anunoby? Yeah, they could have made a push if the Raptors weren't asking for too much. Fred VanVleet, we said how much he could potentially help the Lakers or where he could help with the Clippers. They obviously held on to him. He's going to opt out of his deal next season. He'll be an unrestricted free agent. You talk about Gary Trent Jr., he's going to opt out. He'll be an unrestricted free agent. And they made a move. They were actually buyers instead of sellers, and they got Jakob Porter from the Spurs, a low-key center. So it looks like Masai Ujiri has something cooking. I just don't know what it is.
What do you think, Key?
I follow Jay. I think it is hot news, though, when you think about it. They made some small moves, but they didn't make any moves of getting rid of guys and giving Memphis the opportunity to add on to what they already have. So we'll find out here in the next month or a couple months what that actually means by the time they get to the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you, Jay, for the same reasons. And the thing I'll say about Masai Ujiri is he's not perfect. No one's infallible. Maybe he's made a mistake here. But when you have a track record like Masai Ujiri, that guy gets the benefit of the doubt. That's what what makes it hot news for me. You can't sit here and be going, oh, what is he, crazy? You have to be like what you said, wait a minute. There's a larger plan here. I wonder what it is.
Absolutely.
The Bulls didn't make a trade. Hot news or not news, Jay?
That's hot news, man. We've been talking about it. Now we're talking about the addition of Russell Westbrook, and if he gets bought out with Utah, but that's going to be the difference maker for this team. Still, they're not going to compete with Milwaukee. Still, they're not going to compete with the Celtics. They're not even as good as the Philadelphia 76ers, even with Russ. You're still going to have questions. Are you going to re-sign Vucevic? What's going on Lonzo Ball? The core is interesting, but DeMar DeRozan is only getting older, and either you're revamping and you're starting over, or you're making big moves to try to win a championship. And right now, the Bulls seem to be stuck in purgatory.
It's not news to me. I know it's hot news to Jay because he played for the Bulls or whatnot, but there were no moves out there that they could have made that would have made this team a contender without giving up everything to get something. And we talked about AD possibly moving there. Why would you want that? Why would you want AD when you already got issues with Ball? Zach LaVine had some injuries in the past. You would have had to probably move him to get AD. Then you look at Caruso's situation. What are you going to do there if you'd have moved him? There's nothing that would have made this team a contender that was out there, in my opinion. That's why it's not news.
I think it is news, but I got to say something about the Bulls. When they made the Vucevic trade, Jay, I thought, ooh, that's really smart because they have some other stuff. But now they got the best big who's not one of those guys, right? One of those guys who are impossible to get. Man, that has not turned out well. I think that is, if you really look at what's wrong with the Bulls other than injury, Vucevic is a horrible defender. And you know, like, they really need someone who can do that job better than him.
So what's going to get them out the cellar?
Well, they're not in the cellar, but
Well, the cellar to me is you ain't going to be in the playoffs.
The play-in.
Well, that's the cellar.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Well, but they're hoping it's Westbrook, I guess, for 30 games.
A mid of the pack team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
But that's who they've been.
I know, but there's nothing they can get. They're not getting Giannis, so there's nothing that's going to turn it around for.
The Clippers don't have a point guard after the trade deadline, Jay. Hot news or not news?
I mean, you got Reggie Jackson. I mean, but I think we've seen what the ceiling is on that. I think the biggest problem for them now is that you need somebody to control the tempo of the game, and I think that's what you had when you could have had a guy like Fred VanVleet. When you had a guy, John Wall didn't really do that as well. Look, man, the Clippers are one of those teams where you feel like they have the pieces, but then, as Key would say, they find a way to clip.
Yeah.
Eric Gordon, okay, helps with the shooter, but still, like, it doesn't really help with a dynamic PG. The Clippers are okay. They'll be fine. They're just not going to – I don't think they're going to be there when it's all said and done.
Yeah, it's not news to me. I mean, they pick up Eric Gordon, obviously. Jay mentioned there's a shooter there. John Wall
got traded
never –
for Mason Plumlee. What am I talking about? My fault.
it never worked out at the level it should have with John Wall, so he goes back to where he started at. It's the Clippers, man. I can't really give you any excitement about a team that we talk about every single year, but we wind up being in the same position at the start of the season, which is they didn't win another championship.
You know where my mind goes when I hear Clippers? Goes right to Joe Burrow. Joe smoking on a Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, like, it's so hard to get to a franchise with a culture where they never win and turn that around, right? Key says the Clippers going to clip, so I agree. It's not.
And look, I like Bones Highland. Do I think Bones Highland played well when he was in Denver? Is he going to be that elite? Maybe he could be a fixed guy. It's not the move that you were expecting.
You think they look at him like Daryl Morey looked at James Harden, like that's an undervalued piece? If they gave him more minutes, if he could, based on how, what did he get, 20 minutes a game, something like that?
He played well in Denver, man.
Yeah,
I like Bones Highland. I just don't know if it's the next tier to help them get like the West.
Not that he'd be James Harden, but like a guy who's better than what his current team knows.
Well, there's a value pick, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is the West is loaded right now.
Yeah.
Like it feels like they have to make a different type. If you're telling me that the Clippers found a way to get Fred VanVleet, now something with him and Kawhi and PG and that core, that's a core that should compete with Phoenix.
So the Warriors traded away James Wiseman. Hot news or not news?
Blazing, scorching hot news. Your second pick in the draft, man. I mean, how many times do you find a team that's a contender who has a chance to get the second pick in the draft? They chose James Wiseman. He got more minutes in the G League than he did on their roster. He is now in Detroit. I do think this is a better position for him to learn and come into his own. But whenever you're the second pick in the draft for a championship contender team and they trade you to bring back a guy that they could have re-signed instead of letting him go in the first place and Gary Payton the second, that's scorching hot news.
Yeah, it is. It's hot news. And when you talk about James Wiseman, so promising coming in, but I think a lot of people didn't realize that Golden State was still loaded and stacked. They were a championship team. Even though he got there after they won their championships, it's hard to fit into championship teams as a lottery pick. It's just a high lottery pick at that. Teams don't get the luxury when they win championship in championship organizations to pick up guys like this because they could have gotten him. What if they'd have taken him in the bottom of the first round? He still wouldn't be able to play, let alone at the top.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.